The new vehicles are here within World of Tanks console, and today's update news video is going to go over everything that you need to know about the update that was released yesterday and all of the sort of things to keep your eye out for in the next couple of months and the next couple of weeks in particular. So let's get into the new vehicles later on in the video. We'll do a full actual in-game review of the kind of tanks within the tech tree towards the end of the video, which will be timestamped so you can skip around the video as to where you want to go. But let's look through the actual content that came with these new tanks. In specific, let's have a look at the new seasonal keycards, the Mythology keycards, and the associated challenge that comes with this, where you can actually receive some pretty decent rewards, at least if you're after some silver. And let's jump into the actual the article on this now. So obviously in game right now, as of the recording of this video, for the next week you'll be able to get your hands on Mythology keycards, which are essentially like a commander keycard where you can get various different commanders. You can see here on screen right now the different commanders which will appear within your garage. Unfortunately, they are only 2D commanders, so they're not 3D, so you won't be able to get any kind of actual in-game kind of commanders that show at the end of the battle or anything like that within this bunch of keycards. However, you'll get various different mythologies. You've got the Aztecs, you've got the Celtic, you've then got Egyptian, Greek, and you can see all of them here. You know, you can pause it whenever you want to have a look at them to decide maybe you want them. But you can see Greek, Japanese, Norse, Slavic as well. So you can see all of the different gods here: Chernobog, Dazbog, Divana, Perun, Zoya, and I'm not even going to try and attempt that one, but yeah. You can see all of the changes that have come into the game in terms of the commanders, so you can get your hands on these. And not only can you get your hands on these for money, you can actually get some premium / 2D commanders within the game as part of the challenge that runs alongside this. Is only available from the 22nd of Feb until the 1st of March, so you've got 1 week to be able to complete them. And essentially, every single time you complete 3 battles or win 3 battles, which you can do twice a day, once you've done that twice, you'll receive 2 different commanders. So effectively, after you've won 3 battles, you'll get 1 reward, which is just a random drop of all of these rewards here. So you could get 100,000 silver, you could get some med kits, repair kits, you know, consumables, you could get silver boosts, which are actually really nice, and alternatively, you can get the standard commanders as well, so those come along with it, which of course if you then want to just go ahead and sell them, I think you can sell them for like 250,000 silver, so you can always do that if you aren't in need of any commanders. So effectively this is just like an extra additional silver source that you can use within the game, and that's available 2 times per day and available to all tiers and eras. So you basically have to win 6 games in a day to maximize this, or alternatively just win 3 games or more to be able to get at least 1 random drop on the following drop table that you can see here. I would expect the commanders to have a slightly lower drop rate, and things like the silver boosters to have slightly higher but still very low, and then you're going to be seeing things like the consumables here going to have a slightly higher proportion of them actually being awarded. They haven't given these specific drop rates, and I don't know if they'll ever do that with the kind of free content that you can get within the game, but these are essentially the things that you can get on the drop table. So yeah, it's looking pretty decent in terms of some silver to be able to earn some extra stuff within the game. And of course, if you are interested in any of these Mythology commanders and just getting yourself something that kind of looks cool within the game, then yeah, definitely a week for customization. Obviously, as part of the keycards, you do have a chance at premiums, but don't buy them thinking that you're going to get premium tanks, because you have something like a 1% chance to actually get a premium World War II tank here. You can see you're basically never going to get one unless you open 100, and when they're $1.49, you're essentially getting 1 tank every $149 that you spend in the game. And yeah, I should hope that that doesn't make sense to you, even though some of the tanks in these keycards are actually pretty good. The Dragon, the STA2, things like that, they're not worth actually spending that much money on the off chance of being able to get one, so definitely don't go doing that. And then, of course, let's jump back to the actual article itself, and we'll see what else we've got this week. It's the last week of the Medium Tank Mastery Challenge that you can complete, which essentially rewards you with 1 million silver each week and a day of premium. And then, of course, if you fully complete it with every single week, and you've been doing it every single week, then you will be able to get that top secret keycard and the 7 days of premium, I think, for completing all 4 weeks of it. So yeah, if you completed all weekly challenge up to this point, congrats. There are some special prizes waiting for you at the end of it all. So there is Medium Tank Mastery 4, so make sure that you're doing that if you are after 1 million silver and this premium, and of course the emblem that comes with the Medium Tank Mastery here. Of course, then we have the Art of War challenges, where you can earn 25% silver, 1 million silver, and 7 days of premium account by completing the challenges requirements, which can be completed with the new Cold War tech tree tanks. Those are the Chinese World War II vehicles, and we'll be having a look at those in just a second. Obviously, then we have the +1 -1 matchmaking weekend. So yes, +1 -1 is back. It is 100% time for you to jump into those tech tree tanks that you haven't been playing. Maybe you've been playing through the Tiger line, which I would 100% recommend to you guys to grind towards. That Tiger 2 is actually insane within the current meta, and we did a video on that. E100 not so much. If you watched yesterday's video, you'll know kind of how that ended up, but yeah, definitely a tank that was interesting, and one that I hope you guys can kind of test out yourself at tier 8 as a heavy tank. Don't forget there's also a March Maneuvers tournament for those of you in the clan, so make sure that you can register until March 4th, so make sure you're doing that if you want to join your clan up to this kind of clan tournament and competitive scene. And then we always obviously then have the sales, which we'll just run through quickly and highlight some of the best ones, and if Wargaming are doing any dodgy stuff within the bundles. But yes, we do have the typical G.I. Joe don't buy tanks in the game. I think they were like £190 for one bundle, which in my personal opinion, I wouldn't spend my money, if my hard-earned money, on that, in my opinion. But there we go. Definitely in terms of like price to reward ratio, in terms of my opinion, it's definitely not worth it. There are some decent tanks in there, but yeah, nothing of that interest to me. Then we have the weekly sales. So these are kind of where you get the best kind of deal or bang for your buck typically, in terms of the bundles that they release, depending on what those are. But you can see this week we have the Training Up Flexible Operations European Firepower, and there are some interesting ones. The most being that European Firepower bundle, where we can get the Dragon, Lance and Sea and the Bisonte to, you know, Dragon is a fantastic premium tank, probably one of the best premium tier 8 tanks in the game, especially if you have like a decent level of skill to begin with. And then whacked in with the Bisonte, which is kind of a novel auto-reloading Italian heavy tank. So if you're interested in that kind of playstyle, then it could be a good one. Is the DPM that bad? Yes. But yeah, it's not overpowered, but it's not terrible. And it's an interesting novel tank that I certainly, you know, as a premium tank would be interesting to have in your garage, even if you don't enjoy necessarily playing it. Then we have the Flexible Operations, which is the AT-15A, which I wouldn't really recommend, and the T-34-85M, which is a fantastic tier 6, probably one of the best tier 6 tanks within the game, at least premium-wise, and that is, 5,500 gold, so it's not too bad. I guess if you're spending your money, then maybe you'd want to do that, and because it would only cost you, what, like £12, something like that, £14, which is like $20, you know, that's a couple pints at the pub. So yeah, there's always that. We then also have Training Up. Never really recommend these bundles. I don't play tier 5, even though the SU-85I is pretty disgusting, I think, from memory. But yeah, not my kind of suited play style, at least. I don't really like the low tier premiums, but there we go. And then, of course, if you just want to pay to basically get more money, then you can do that with 10 times 2 silver boost for 850 gold, which is worth it, I guess, if you need the silver right there and then, and it's hindering you from having a bit of enjoyment within the game, then you can do that. Obviously, then we have the super savings, which is another kind of key aspect of the deals every single week, which we have the Sturm VK3601H 105. So this is the 105mm cannon on a tier 6, so it can do 320 or 390 alpha damage, I think, with its main gun, and it's kind of got one of those golfing rounds. It's almost like playing something like the German tank destroyers, like the Sturm Tiger line, but not quite as bad, but definitely a kind of round that is very, very slow. Even with the premium rounds, the heat rounds on the thing, it can be a little bit tedious to play, but it definitely, when you get it up close and personal, when you're playing up against heavy tanks, you can demolish them. The alpha damage on this thing at tier 6 being that high makes it super fun to play, so it's kind of like you need the matchup to kind of be in the right favour, but it was really, really good. It's 50% off, and I don't think you'll go wrong with actually having this in your garage and trying it out. Then we have the Japanese tier 8 STA2. STA2 is probably one of my favourite underrated premium tanks in the game. It's super consistent. It has a really, really good all-round kind of capability. Wargaming even say that, and they're actually right for once. The gun is actually really decent, good gun depression, you've got really good DPM, you're also kind of somewhat mobile, which just makes it really, really fun, and the accuracy's good as well. So I love the STA2, so I mean, potentially you could get it as well. So I think that's it for the bundles. Obviously, we have the February challenge to earn the Type 59-2. There will be another challenge coming out, so make sure that you're completing that as quickly as possible, so you can kind of move on with March's challenge, which will be for another premium tank, I would guess. I don't know what that is yet, but I'll let you know as soon as that information comes out, and we'll produce some more videos, so make sure that you are subscribed if you aren't. But other than that, let's skip on to the new tanks within the game and see what they are kind of stacking up like in the garage. Jumping into the new tanks, we have of course got the very first tank within the game, which you can pick up for free on the Cold War game mode. It is of course the Type 63-1. So this is the brand new light tank within the post-war era. So you can pick this up for free. It won't cost you anything, literally 0 silver. So it's definitely one to actually keep an eye out for, and maybe you want to test it out, see whether you do enjoy the Cold War game mode. If you haven't actually played it, it's definitely a little bit better than when it first came out, that's for sure. And I've definitely been enjoying it a little bit more. Is it 100% something that I enjoy with all my heart? Probably not, but it's definitely something that I would recommend you test out. Now, as far as the tank themselves, you can see here the different modules that we have available, and for the most part we have the tech tree laid out as follows. So they are Eastern Alliance tanks, and they start off on their own individual line, these brand new tanks within the game. So they are completely separate, they don't link with any of the other ones that are currently available, and you can see here this comes out of the Chinese basically tanks within Cold War, and they lead on to the Type 59, the Type 69-2, the Type 79, Type 80, and then you kind of split off from this medium/heavy tank hybrid into both the heavy tank for the Chinese line and the mediums here that you can see as you get further on. These are the proper heavy tanks within the game, or main battle tanks as maybe you'd like to call them. You can see a short comparison here. Essentially, the Chinese are like faster versions, so they're more like medium heavy hybrids, don't have as much alpha, don't have as much penetration, but they definitely have that mobility advantage over some of the other top tier tanks within the game, albeit the actual light tanks within the Détente era, like the BMP-3, which of course has the new missile system where you can kind of swap between them and fire multi-turrets within one go. So That's kind of the additions of the game. What do the actual tanks represent? What do you want to be doing? Well, essentially, in my eyes, the better tanks to go with would be, just going for the actual tanks themselves. The heavy tanks within the game, they are just going to be better, in my opinion. Overall, you're going to be able to actually have a little bit more consistent games as opposed to the mediums. I feel like the alpha damage of the mediums, when you compare them to things like the T-72s and even tanks below them in the tier, just don't have that alpha damage that really kind of knocks the rest of the tanks back, and they don't even really compete that much with the other tanks in the game. Obviously, you will have better actual DPM than the other tanks, so you can see a 9.23 rounds a minute rate of fire, which is nice. Compare that to something like a T-72BM, same tier, same level within the tier. What actual gun do we have here? 7.41. So you do have like a 2 rate of fire over them, but you do decrease your alpha damage by about 70. So you're going to be dealing less damage, but you're going to be able to fire faster, which obviously is the case with most mediums in the game. So your DPM will be slightly better, but will it make up for the fact that you lose that armor of the T-72? Probably not. Are these going to be game-breakingly overpowered within the game? Unfortunately, I can't test them out, as I'd love to do that and showcase what these tanks are within the game. But yeah, I can definitely give you a rundown as to how they'll play and how they'll likely play within the game. But you'll see what these are probably for are your more medium tank players within the game. So they are, of course, faster, and you're going to be able to play them like that. And of course, they are coming off of a light tank, so you'd expect them to be a little bit faster, at least in some regards. So there we go. Obviously, the Type 59, if you've played on the World War II mode, you'll know exactly how these Chinese mediums / heavy tanks are probably going to play. And if you played the WZ-111 since its release on the game last week on Tuesday and as part of the Season Pass, you'll probably know how these ones play out. So looking like this season being the Chinese season and Chinese New Year and everything associated with that, maybe we'll see some actual Chinese content coming out on World War II as well. So there's the short rundown of these tanks. Let me know what you think about them. Have you actually just free XP'd your way all the way to the top for somehow being a big baller within World of Tanks console? And let me know what you do actually think of these tanks, and let me know how far you've actually got on the tech tree line already since being released only one day when this video has actually come out. So let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what you want to see next from World of Tanks console devs, wargaming. And of course, let me know whether or not you're going to be testing these tanks out, and if you're going to be completing any of those challenges and operations and those mythological keycards that Wargaming released as part of this update. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. If you want to check out other gameplay videos like we mentioned about the King Tiger or the Tiger 2, then be sure to check those out, and they'll be linked on screen right now. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and a fantastic rest of your week, and I hope you join me back in those videos. Goodbye.